I said. The man's voice sliced through the diner's fluorescent hum like a blade through silk. Are you deaf and stupid, or just raised in a barn? Rain hammered the windows of Rose's diner at 11:47 p.m. Only 3 people remained in the tired establishment that smelled of burnt coffee and broken dreams: Cora, the cook in the back, and him, the stranger in the corner booth who'd been nursing the same cup of coffee for 2 hours while making calls in a language Cora didn't recognize. His eyes were winter itself. Gray. Unforgiving. Sir, I asked you a simple question. Cora's voice remained steady despite the exhaustion clawing at her bones. 16 hours. She'd been on her feet for 16 hours, and this man, this stranger in his expensive watch and cheap attitude, thought he could speak to her like she was nothing. Like she was invisible. And I gave you an answer. He didn't look up from his phone. But apparently minimum wage doesn't buy comprehension skills anymore. The fluorescent light above his booth flickered. Once. Twice. Something in Cora's chest cracked. Not broke, she'd been broken before. This was different. This was the sound of a dam that had held back an ocean finally deciding it had carried enough weight. You know what? Cora set the coffee pot down on his table with more force than necessary. Hot liquid sloshed over the rim. I've been called worse by better men. I've scraped gum off these floors at 3 a.m. I've cleaned up after drunks and been stiffed on tips by people in suits that cost more than my monthly rent. But I have never. He looked up then. Really looked at her. There was something haunted behind those grey eyes. Something that might have been human once, before whatever darkness he carried had consumed it. Never what? His voice dropped to something dangerous. Something that should have warned her to stop. Should have. Didn't. Let a man in my diner disrespect me like I'm some kind of animal. Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm so glad you're here. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. Seriously, I love connecting with you all. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button because the story you're about to hear? It's going to take you on a ride you won't forget. Trust me on this one. Now, back to that diner. Back to the moment everything changed. The man stood up. Slowly. He was taller than Cora expected, 6'3" at least, with shoulders that suggested either a gym membership or a lifetime of carrying weight that couldn't be measured in pounds. You think you know disrespect? He stepped closer. The space between them evaporated. Cora could smell his cologne now, something dark and expensive that didn't match the tired look in his eyes. You think working double shifts and dealing with rude customers is the worst thing that can happen to a person? His phone buzzed on the table. A name flashed across the screen. Victor, urgent. He ignored it. I think, Cora said, her voice steady despite her heart hammering against her ribs like it was trying to escape, that money doesn't give you the right to treat people like they're beneath you. And I think whatever demons you're carrying don't give you permission to pour them on someone who's just trying to survive. For 3 seconds, the world held its breath. The rain stopped hitting the windows. The fluorescent lights stopped humming. Even the cook in the back seemed to freeze mid-motion. Then the man smiled. It was the saddest smile Cora had ever seen, like watching someone remember what happiness used to feel like before they forgot the language of joy. Survive, he repeated, tasting the word. Is that what you call this? This. He gestured around the empty diner with its cracked vinyl booths and ceiling tiles stained with decades of water damage. Existence. That's when he said it. The words that would replay in Cora's mind for weeks to come. At least when I'm cruel, sweetheart, I have the power to back it up. You're just a waitress playing at dignity in a dead-end job, pretending that your kindness matters in a world that will chew you up and forget your name before your body's even cold. Cora's hand moved before her brain could stop it. The slap echoed through Rose's diner like a gunshot. His head snapped to the side. A red mark bloomed across his left cheek, stark against his pale skin. For a moment, just a moment, Cora saw something flicker across his face that might have been surprise. Or respect. Or fear. The cook appeared in the kitchen doorway, spatula in hand, eyes wide. The stranger touched his cheek. Looked at his fingers like he expected to see blood. When he turned back to Cora, something had shifted in his expression. The mask he'd been wearing, the cruel, dismissive stranger, cracked just enough to reveal the man underneath. And that man was terrified. Not of her. Of something else. Something that made a slap from a 5'6" waitress seem like mercy compared to whatever darkness was chasing him. "Do you have any idea," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the resumed rain, "what you just did?" Cora's hand throbbed. Her palm was red. She'd hit him harder than she intended, fueled by 16 hours of exhaustion, 3 months of unpaid hospital bills, and a lifetime of being told she didn't matter. "I defended my dignity," she said. "And I'd do it again." His phone buzzed again. Same name. "Victor, urgent." Then again. "Victor, answer now." The stranger looked at his phone, then at Cora, then at the door where the rain was creating rivers in the parking lot. "My name," he said quietly, pulling out his wallet, "is Donald. Donald Martinez. And you just made the biggest mistake of your life." He threw $300 bills on the table, 10 times what his coffee cost. "Or maybe," he added, something unreadable crossing his face, "you just saved it." Then he was gone, disappearing into the storm like he'd never been there at all. Except for the money. The red mark on his cheek that Cora could still see in her mind. And the business card he'd left behind, half hidden under the coffee cup. Martinez Holdings, private consultation. No phone number. No address. Just an embossed logo that looked like a crown made of thorns. Cora picked up the card with trembling fingers. She didn't know that in 3 hours, 2 men in black SUVs would show up at her apartment. She didn't know that her younger brother's hospital would receive an anonymous payment covering his entire treatment, past, present, and future. She didn't know that the man she'd slapped was Donald Martinez, the ghost of Brooklyn, a mafia boss who'd disappeared 6 months ago after his own brother tried to have him killed. She didn't know that her single act of defiance had just made her the most interesting person in his world, and the most endangered. All Cora knew, standing in that empty diner at midnight, was that something had changed. The dam hadn't just cracked. It had shattered completely. And the flood was coming. Cora's apartment door stuck the way it always did, swollen from humidity and years of neglect. She had to put her shoulder into it at 1:47 a.m., juggling her keys, her purse, and the $300 that felt like it was burning a hole through her pocket. Blood money, her mother would have called it. Miracle money, Cora thought, because miracles didn't care about your pride when your 17-year-old brother was dying. The apartment was dark except for the blue glow from the fish tank in the corner, the one luxury Cora allowed herself. $11 a month for the filter, $9 for food, but watching those neon tetras swim in peaceful circles was the only thing that kept her sane some nights. Tonight wasn't one of those nights. She dropped her purse on the counter and stared at the $300 bills spread across her palm like playing cards in a game she didn't know she was playing. Donald Martinez. The name sat heavy in her mind. She'd Googled it on the bus ride home, but found nothing except a LinkedIn profile for a real estate developer in Miami and a obituary from 1987. Whoever the man in the diner was, he didn't exist online. Which meant he was either nobody. Or somebody who'd paid a lot of money to disappear. Cora's phone buzzed. A text from St. Catherine's Hospital lit up her screen. Payment declined. Outstanding balance, $47,329. Please contact billing. Her stomach dropped. $47,329. The number had grown by $8,000 in the last month alone. Liam's treatment, the experimental chemotherapy, the specialists, the medications that insurance called non-essential despite them being the only thing standing between her baby brother and a funeral, cost more than Cora made in a year. In 2 years. She texted back, "We'll call tomorrow. Please don't stop his treatment." The response came immediately, "We're doing everything we can. But we need payment by Friday." Friday. 3 days away. Cora looked at the $300 again. A drop in an ocean. A band-aid on a bullet wound. She walked to the fish tank and sprinkled food across the surface. The tetras rushed up, their tiny mouths breaking the waterline in silent desperation. She understood that desperation. Had lived inside it for so long it felt like skin. "Hey, fighters," she whispered to the fish. "At least somebody's getting fed around here." Her phone rang. Not a text this time, an actual call. At 2 in the morning. Unknown number. Cora's heart kicked against her ribs. She almost didn't answer. Almost let it go to voicemail. Almost. "Hello. Miss Davis." The voice was male, smooth, and carried the kind of authority that made you stand up straighter even when you were alone. My name is Victor Capshaw. I work for someone you met tonight. Cora's blood turned to ice. I don't know what you're. The diner. Roses. 11:47 p.m. You served my employer coffee, and then you struck him. No judgment in his tone. Just facts. He asked me to call you. Look, if this is about pressing charges, Cora's voice shook. She couldn't afford a lawyer. Couldn't afford anything. It was self-defense. He was verbally harassing me, and I. Miss Davis. Victor's voice softened slightly. Mr. Martinez isn't pressing charges. He's offering you a job. The world tilted. A, what? A job. $60,000. 1 week of your time. No questions asked. $60,000. Liam's treatment. His medication. The surgery Dr. Patel said might give him another year, maybe 2. What kind of job? Cora asked, because she'd been broke her entire life but she'd never been stupid. The kind that requires discretion and courage. You demonstrated both tonight. A pause. A car will arrive at your building at 9 a.m. The driver will have documentation, contract, NDA, payment structure. You can review everything before making a decision. And if I say no? Then you say no. The money on your table is yours regardless. Consider it an apology for Mr. Martinez's behavior. Another pause, longer this time. But Miss Davis? I've worked for this man for 8 years. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't notice waitresses. And he certainly doesn't offer them $60,000 unless something about them is exceptional. The line went dead. Cora stood in her dark apartment, phone pressed to her ear, listening to silence. The next morning, Cora sat across from Liam in his hospital room at St. Catherine's, watching her little brother pretend he wasn't exhausted. He'd lost more weight. His cheekbones jutted out like blades beneath skin that had gone translucent. The chemo had taken his hair months ago, but it was his eyes that killed her, still bright green, still full of fight, still believing his big sister could fix anything. You look tired, Liam said, which was hilarious because he looked like death was standing in the corner taking measurements. Double shift. Cora peeled an orange, the smell sharp and alive in the sterile room. Triple, actually. Covered for Jenny. Lies came easier these days. You don't have to do this, you know. Liam's voice was soft. 17 years old and already sounding like an old man who'd made peace with the universe. Dr. Patel said there are clinical trials. Free treatment. With a 6-month waiting list. Cora handed him an orange slice. And a 30% acceptance rate. Better than you killing yourself working. I'm not killing myself. She stopped. Looked at her baby brother, the kid who'd cried when their goldfish died, who'd given his last $20 to a homeless man, who'd never asked for anything except to live long enough to graduate high school. I'm doing what family does, she finished. Liam ate the orange slice. Winced. Everything tasted like metal now, he'd told her once. Like licking batteries. Cora. He reached for her hand. His fingers felt like bared bones. If something happens to me. Nothing's going to happen. I need you to promise me you'll live. Really live. Not just survive. Not just work yourself to death trying to fix things you can't control. Cora's throat closed. She wanted to scream that she could control it, that $60,000 was sitting in a black SUV downstairs waiting for her decision, that some stranger with sad grey eyes and a slap mark on his cheek might be the answer to prayers she'd stopped praying. But instead she said, I promise. Another lie. They sat in silence, watching morning light creep across the linoleum floor, both of them pretending tomorrow was guaranteed. At 9 a.m. exactly, Cora stood on the sidewalk outside her building, watching a black Mercedes SUV pull up to the curb. The driver stepped out, a woman this time, mid-50s, with steel grey hair pulled into a bun tight enough to be weaponized. She wore a black suit that probably cost more than Cora's entire wardrobe. Miss Davis. Not a question. I'm Margaret Stratton. Mr. Martinez's head of security. She opened the back door. Please. The interior smelled like leather and money. On the seat sat a manila folder. Cora didn't get in. I want to know what the job is first. Margaret's expression didn't change. The job is to be yourself. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting before you sign the NDA. Margaret checked her watch. You have 60 seconds to decide, Miss Davis. After that, I drive away, and this opportunity evaporates. Why me? Cora demanded. Why would a man I slapped offer me $60,000? For the first time, something like emotion crossed Margaret's face. Because in 8 years of working for Donald Martinez, I've never seen him smile the way he did when he called me last night. And I've certainly never heard him call anyone exceptional. She paused. You scared him, Miss Davis. In a world where very little scares that man, you became interesting. Interesting enough to pay. Interesting enough to trust. 30 seconds. Cora thought about Liam's orange slice wince. The hospital's Friday deadline. The fish tank she could barely afford. Her mother's voice from a decade ago. Sometimes surviving means making choices that scare you. 20 seconds. She thought about Donald Martinez's eyes. That haunted look, like a man who'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen as human. 10 seconds. She thought about what Liam said, really live. If I die doing whatever this is, Cora said, make sure my brother gets the money. Margaret almost smiled. You won't die. You have Mr. Martinez's word. And what's that worth? Everything. Or nothing. Depending on whether you trust him. Cora slid into the SUV. The folder sat heavy on her lap as Margaret drove through morning traffic. Inside, a contract, an NDA, a cashier's check for $15,000, signing bonus, the note said, and a handwritten letter on expensive cardstock. Miss Davis. You asked me last night if I thought you mattered. The answer is yes. More than you know. More than I can explain without sounding insane. I'm being hunted by people who believe I'm already dead. Staying dead keeps me alive. But staying dead also means disappearing completely, becoming nobody, nothing, a ghost without a name. Last night, you looked at me like I was human. Like I deserved basic dignity despite being cruel. No one has looked at me that way in 6 months. I need you to pretend to be someone you're not for 1 week. In return, I'll give you $60,000 and ensure your brother receives the best cancer treatment money can buy. No strings. No debt. The question isn't whether you can trust me. It's whether I can trust you. Donald. The SUV pulled up to a building Cora didn't recognize, glass and steel, reaching toward the sky like a middle finger to gravity. Where are we? She asked. Somewhere safe, Margaret said. Somewhere Donald Martinez doesn't officially exist. The elevator required a key card. Then a fingerprint. Then a retinal scan. They rose in silence to the 47th floor. The doors opened onto an apartment that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Furniture that was art. And standing by the window, back to them, was the man from the diner. He turned. The slap mark was gone, but something else remained, that same haunted look, now mixed with something that might have been hope. You came, Donald said softly. I came, Cora replied. Now tell me what I'm really doing here. He smiled that sad smile again. Saving my life, he said. By pretending to be my wife. The word wife hung in the air between them like smoke from a gun. Cora laughed. Not because it was funny, because the alternative was screaming. You want me to pretend to be your wife? She looked at Margaret, who remained expressionless by the elevator. Is he serious? Deadly, Margaret said. Wrong choice of words, apparently, because Donald flinched. He moved away from the window, and Cora got her first good look at him in actual daylight. The expensive watch was gone. The cruel mask from the diner had vanished. What remained was a man in his mid-30s wearing jeans and a white t-shirt, looking less like a mafia boss and more like someone who hadn't slept in days. The bruise on his cheek, her handprint, had faded to yellow. 6 months ago, Donald began, his voice careful, measured. My brother Vincent tried to kill me. Not metaphorically. Not in a business sense. He hired 3 men to put bullets in my head and dump my body in the East River. Cora's stomach twisted. They shot me twice. He lifted his shirt. 2 scars. Puckered and angry. One near his ribs, one closer to his heart. I survived because my driver, Donald's voice caught. Thomas threw himself in front of the third bullet. He died so I could run. The apartment suddenly felt smaller. Cora wanted to sit down, but her legs had forgotten how to bend. I've been dead for 6 months, Donald continued, dropping his shirt. Officially. My funeral was covered by the Times. Vincent took over my organization, my assets, everything. And he's been hunting for proof that I'm still alive ever since. Why? Cora whispered. Because if I'm alive, I can reclaim what's mine. Challenge his authority. Expose what he did. Donald's jaw tightened. But more than that, Vincent knows I kept insurance. Documents. Proof of every illegal thing our family has done for 3 generations. Bank accounts. Names. Crimes that would bring down half the criminal empire on the East Coast. Where is it? Margaret asked, though her tone suggested she'd asked before. Somewhere he'll never find it. Donald looked at Cora. But Vincent knows me. Knows I'd never leave something that important unguarded. So he's been watching. Waiting. Looking for any sign that I'm still breathing. Cora's mind raced. What does this have to do with me? Donald pulled out his phone. Showed her a photo, a woman with dark hair, green eyes, wearing a red dress at some charity gala. Isabel Cordova, he said. For 2 years, the media thought we'd get married. She was perfect. Daughter of a legitimate business family, beautiful, connected. The kind of woman a man like me was supposed to end up with. What happened to her? She married Vincent. Donald's voice went flat. 3 months after my death. Stood at my grave and cried, then accepted his proposal 2 weeks later. Jesus, Cora breathed. Vincent's hosting a gala this Saturday. Anniversary celebration for taking over Martinez Holdings. Everyone who's anyone in our world will be there. Rivals, allies, politicians we own, judges we've bought. It's his coronation. Donald locked eyes with Cora. And I'm going to walk in with you on my arm. The room tilted. You're insane, Cora said. Probably. Donald didn't disagree. But Vincent made one mistake. When he took over my estate, he took over my grandmother's trust, the one thing in my family that's completely legitimate. Clean money. $23 million that gets distributed on one condition. Which is that I'm married before my 35th birthday. Donald's smile was sharp as broken glass. Which is this Sunday. Understanding crashed over Cora like cold water. If you show up married, you can claim the trust, she said slowly. Use the money to rebuild. Challenge Vincent's control. Not just married. Believably married. Donald took a step closer. Vincent will look for cracks. Inconsistencies. Any proof that it's fake. If he finds them, he'll kill us both and make it look like an accident. Why not hire an actress? A professional? Because Vincent knows every woman in my circles. He'd see through it immediately. Donald's expression softened. But you? A waitress from Queens? No connection to my world, no social media presence, no history he can trace? You're perfect because you're real. Cora's hands were shaking. This is insane. I can't, I don't know how to be a mafia wife. You don't have to be a mafia wife. Donald's voice dropped. You just have to be you. That's the whole point. The whole point of what? Of proving Vincent wrong. Something fierce entered Donald's eyes. He thinks power comes from fear. From control. From making people into weapons. But last night in that diner, you proved something different. What are you talking about? You didn't fear me. You didn't try to use me. You just, he struggled for words. Saw me. Actually saw me. And then you held me accountable for being cruel. Donald laughed, but it sounded like pain. Do you know how rare that is in my world? How dangerous. Apparently dangerous enough to get slapped, Cora muttered. Apparently dangerous enough to make me feel human for the first time in 6 months. Their eyes met. Held. Cora saw it then, the real reason he'd called her. It wasn't just about believability or convenience. Donald Martinez, the ghost of Brooklyn, the man who'd supposedly died in a hail of bullets, was drowning in a world where everyone wanted something from him. And she was the first person in forever who'd wanted nothing except basic respect. Your brother, Donald said quietly. Liam. Age 17. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. St. Catherine's Hospital. Dr. Rashid Patel is his primary oncologist. Cora's blood turned to ice. How do you? I know everything, Miss Davis. It's how I've stayed alive. He pulled out another envelope. Thicker this time. But I'm not threatening you. I'm offering you a trade. 1 week of your time. Pretend to be my wife at the gala, sell it convincingly enough that Vincent believes it, and I'll pay every cent of your brother's medical bills. Past, present, and future. Plus the $60,000 in cash. The envelope landed on the glass coffee table between them. And if Vincent figures it out? Cora's voice barely worked. If he decides we're lying. Margaret spoke from behind her. Then I get you and your brother into witness protection before Vincent can touch either of you. Witness protection. Cora laughed again, that hysterical edge creeping back. This morning I was worried about paying rent. Now I'm discussing witness protection. This morning you were watching your brother die slowly. Donald's words were brutal. Honest. Now you're looking at a chance to save him. Cora walked to the window. Looked down at the city 4 to 7 floors below. Somewhere out there, Liam was sitting in a hospital bed, pretending orange slices didn't taste like battery acid. Pretending he wasn't scared. Why do you really need me? She asked without turning around. The truth this time. Silence. Then. Because when you slapped me, I felt something I thought Vincent had killed. Donald's reflection appeared in the glass beside hers. I felt like maybe I deserved to be saved. And if I'm going to walk into that gala and face my brother, if I'm going to risk everything on one move, I need someone standing next to me who believes people can be more than the worst thing they've ever done. Cora turned. Looked up at him. Up close, his eyes weren't winter. They were ocean after a storm, gray-green and deep and full of things that had drowned. I don't know how to wear designer dresses, she said. We'll teach you. I don't know how to talk to criminals and politicians. They're usually the same people. I don't know how to pretend to be in love with someone I just met. Donald smiled. Sad and real and devastating. Then we'll learn together, he said. Because I don't remember how to let someone love me without it being a transaction. Cora looked at the envelope. At Margaret standing guard. At Donald Martinez, the dead man walking, offering her salvation wrapped in danger. She thought about Liam asking her to really live. She thought about fish swimming in circles, desperate and beautiful. She thought about the slap that had echoed through an empty diner and somehow shattered both their worlds. 1 week, she said. 1 week, he confirmed. And if I do this, if I survive this, you never contact me or my brother again. Something that looked like grief crossed his face. If that's what you want. That's the deal. Donald extended his hand. Then we have an agreement, Mrs. Martinez. Cora took his hand. His skin was warm. His grip was firm. And the moment their palms touched, the elevator dinged. Everyone froze. Margaret's hand went to her waist, to a gun Cora hadn't noticed until that moment. Expecting someone. Margaret's voice had gone hard. Donald's face drained of color. No. The elevator doors opened. A man stepped out. Mid-20s, athletic build, expensive suit. He stopped when he saw them, surprise flickering across his features. Then he smiled. Donnie, the man said. You're supposed to be dead. Donald's hand tightened on Cora's. Hello, Leo, he said quietly. I was just about to say the same thing about you. The stranger, Leo, looked at Cora. Then at their joined hands. And who, he asked, his smile sharpening into something predatory, is this? Donald pulled Cora closer. She could feel his heart hammering through his shirt. My wife, Donald said. The word sealed something between them. Made it real. Made it dangerous. Leo's smile widened. Well, isn't that interesting? Does Vincent know his dead brother just got married? Not yet, Donald said. He will soon. Leo pulled out his phone. And everything Cora thought she understood about the next week shattered completely. Margaret's gun cleared her holster in less than a second. Don't. Leo raised both hands, phone still clutched in his right. I'm not here to cause problems. Then why are you here? Donald's voice could have cut steel. His hand remained locked around Cora's, so tight her fingers were going numb. Leo glanced at Margaret's weapon, then back to Donald. Because Victor sent me. Said you were doing something monumentally stupid and needed backup. His eyes traveled to Cora again, assessing. Looks like he was right. Victor sent you. Donald's grip loosened slightly. Victor doesn't know about this location. Victor knows everything. You taught him that. Leo pocketed his phone, slowly, deliberately, showing he meant no threat. And before you ask, no, I'm not working for Vincent. I'm one of the 7 who stayed loyal when everyone else thought you were corpse food. 7, Donald repeated. Out of 43. 8, if you count Margaret. Leo's smile turned grim. The rest figured a live boss beats a dead one. Can't blame them really. Cora's head was spinning. She'd agreed to play pretend at a gala. Nobody had mentioned guns, betrayals, or whatever the hell was happening in this luxury apartment that suddenly felt like a cage. I need to sit down, she said. Everyone looked at her. I need to sit down now, she repeated, louder this time, before I pass out and ruin whatever intimidating standoff you all have going. Donald guided her to the leather couch. His hand on her elbow was surprisingly gentle, nothing like the cruel stranger from the diner. Margaret, stand down, he said quietly. If Leo wanted me dead, I'd already be bleeding. Margaret holstered her weapon but didn't relax. Leo moved to the bar, poured himself whiskey from a crystal decanter. So, wife. That's your play. He studied Cora like she was an equation he couldn't solve. Gutsy. Insane. Probably suicidal. I love it. Who are you? Cora demanded. Leonardo Havenbrook. Leo to friends. Mr. Havenbrook to people pointing guns at me. He raised his glass to Margaret. Former head of security for Martinez Holdings. Current, what would you call me, Donnie? Rebel? Loyalist? Dead man walking. Friend, Donald said quietly. I'd call you friend. Something passed between them, years of history Cora couldn't read. Friend who's about to tell you this wife plan is going to get you killed, Leo said, dropping onto the opposite couch. Vincent's not stupid. He'll see through it. Not if she's convincing enough. Donald sat beside Cora. Not touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. Not if we sell it. Sell it how? She looks terrified. I am terrified, Cora snapped. A man I slapped 12 hours ago wants me to pretend to be his wife at a Mafia gala so he can reclaim his inheritance from his murderous brother. Terrified seems appropriate. Leo blinked. You slapped him. Hard enough to leave a mark. Leo laughed, genuine, surprised laughter that transformed his face from predatory to boyish. Oh, I like her. Please tell me you're keeping her after this is over. After this is over, she walks away. Donald's voice went flat. That's the agreement. Shame. Leo studied Cora with new appreciation. Anyone who slaps Donald Martinez and lives to tell about it deserves a medal. Or psychiatric evaluation. Probably both, Cora muttered. Margaret finally spoke. If we're doing this, we need to start immediately. The gala is Saturday, 4 days away. She needs to learn how to move, talk, dress, eat, everything. Vincent will look for inconsistencies. I know how to eat, Cora protested. Not with 7 forks you don't, Leo said. Not while discussing real estate fronts and money laundering like it's the weather. Cora's stomach dropped. 7 forks. Welcome to high society, sweetheart. Leo raised his glass. Where the silverware is complicated and everyone's a criminal. The next 3 days were hell disguised as luxury. Margaret turned out to be a taskmaster who made Marine drill sergeants look permissive. She woke Cora at 6 a.m. each morning, drilled her on etiquette, grilled her on Donald's fabricated history, and critiqued everything from her posture to her pronunciation. You're not a waitress anymore, Margaret said on the second day, watching Cora practice walking in heels that cost more than her monthly rent. You're Mrs. Martinez. Confident. Educated. Untouchable. I'm Cora Davis from Queens, Cora shot back, wobbling. I'm very touchable. Not anymore. Margaret's expression softened, barely. For the next week, Cora Davis doesn't exist. You're whoever Donald needs you to be. And what if I don't know how to be her? Then you learn. Fast. The evenings were different. Those belonged to Donald. He'd appear around 7, when Margaret finally released Cora from etiquette boot camp, carrying takeout from restaurants Cora couldn't pronounce. They'd eat at the dining table overlooking the city, and he'd tell her stories. Not about the Mafia. Not about violence or power or betrayal. About his grandmother, who'd emigrated from Sicily with nothing and built an empire through sheer will. About his first dog, a German shepherd named Dante who'd slept at the foot of his bed until the night before Donald's first kill. About the bookstore he'd wanted to open before his father died and left him an organization he'd never asked for. You read? Cora asked on the third night, surprised. Donald looked almost embarrassed. Poetry, mostly. Neruda. Frost. Mary Oliver. The Mafia boss reads Mary Oliver. The Mafia boss used to be a person. His smile was sad. Before the bullets and the blood, I wanted to be a teacher. High school English. Can you imagine? Cora could, actually. Could picture him in front of a classroom, passionate about metaphors and imagery, seeing potential in kids everyone else had written off. What changed? She asked. My father was murdered. Vincent was 17, too young, too reckless to take over. So I did. Donald stared at his untouched food. I was 23. I thought I'd run things for a few years, then hand it to Vincent when he was ready. That was 12 years ago. And Vincent? Vincent decided he didn't want to wait anymore. Donald's jaw tightened. Decided I'd gone soft. Started making alliances I didn't know about. Planned my death like it was a business merger. Cora reached across the table. Touched his hand. He froze like she'd burned him. Sorry, she pulled back. I just... Don't apologize. Donald caught her hand before she could withdraw completely. His fingers wrapped around hers. I'm not used to people touching me without wanting something. What do you think I want? To save your brother. That's honest. I respect honest. Their hands stayed linked across the table. Cora could feel his pulse through his wrist, rapid, unsteady. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Why did you come to the diner that night? Why there, specifically? Donald was quiet for a long moment. Because it was the kind of place I'd never go. The kind of place where nobody would recognize me. I just wanted, he struggled for words. To feel invisible for a few hours. To be nobody. Mission accomplished, Cora said. You were the rudest nobody I've ever met. He laughed. Actually laughed, not the sad, broken sound from before, but something genuine. I was testing you, he admitted. Seeing if you'd fight back or just take it. Everyone in my world just takes it. Swallows their dignity because they are afraid. And when I slapped you, I remembered what it felt like to face consequences. Donald's thumb traced small circles on her palm. I remembered what it felt like to be treated like a person instead of a weapon. The moment stretched. Outside, the city glittered like scattered diamonds. If you're feeling this tension, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment, because Cora and Donald's story is about to get even more complicated. We should practice, Donald said suddenly. Practice what? Being married. Touching. Looking comfortable together. He stood, still holding her hand, and pulled her up. Vincent will watch us. If we flinch every time we make contact, he'll know. Cora's heart was hammering. Okay. How do we? Donald pulled her close. One hand on her waist, the other still holding hers. Like this, he said softly. Like I've touched you 1,000 times. They were inches apart. Cora could see gold flecks in his gray eyes. Could smell his cologne, cedar and smoke and something darker she couldn't name. I don't know how to dance, she whispered. Neither do I. Not really. His lips quirked. We'll improvise. There was no music, but Donald started moving anyway. Slow. Gentle. Guiding her through steps that felt less like dancing and more like breathing. Tell me about Liam, he said. The request surprised her. What do you want to know? Everything. If someone asks about your family, you'll need to be able to talk about him without looking sad. Right. This was practice. Strategy. Not whatever her racing pulse thought it was. He's 17, Cora began. Loves basketball even though he's terrible at it. Reads comic books. Wants to be a veterinarian. Her voice caught. Wanted to be. Before he got sick. He still can be. Donald's hand tightened on her waist. The treatment Dr. Patel recommended, the experimental one insurance won't cover, has a 73% success rate for Liam's specific markers. Cora stopped moving. How do you know that? I had my people research it. Made some calls. He wouldn't meet her eyes. St. Catherine's will start the treatment Monday. Everything's arranged. But we haven't done the gala yet. I haven't earned. Consider it a signing bonus. Donald finally looked at her. I don't pay debts after, Cora. I pay them when they are owed. You agreed to help me. That's enough. Tears burned Cora's eyes. Why are you doing this? Because your brother deserves to live. Simple. Honest. And because you deserve to stop carrying the world alone. Something cracked in Cora's chest. The wall she'd built between scared waitress and woman pretending to be a mafia wife began to crumble. Donald. The apartment door burst open. Victor Capshaw, the smooth voice from the phone, strode in, face grim. Leo and Margaret materialized from wherever they'd been lurking. We have a problem, Victor said. Donald's entire demeanor shifted. The gentle man holding Cora transformed into something harder. Sharper. Talk, he commanded. Isabel Cordova just announced she's pregnant. Victor pulled out his phone, showed them a social media post. Vincent's claiming the baby is his. Heir to the Martinez empire. They are pushing the narrative that she mourned you, found comfort in Vincent, and now they are building a family on your legacy. Cora saw Donald's face go white. The gala, he said quietly. He's going to announce it at the gala. Make it a celebration. Gets worse, Leo added. Vincent moved the trust deadline. Called in favors with the estate lawyers. You don't just need to be married by your birthday anymore, you need to prove the marriage is legitimate. Real. Been in place for at least 6 months. Silence. That's impossible, Cora whispered. We can't fake 6 months of history in 4 days. No, Margaret said. But we can create enough evidence to make it plausible. Social media backdating. Witness testimonies. Fake documentation. Vincent will investigate, Donald said. He'll find the cracks. Then we don't give him cracks to find. Victor's voice was steel. We make this so airtight, so convincing, that even forensic accountants believe it. Donald looked at Cora. This isn't what you signed up for. Nothing about this is what I signed up for. Cora squeezed his hand. But my brother starts treatment Monday because of you. So we make it convincing. If this goes wrong, then we deal with it together. The word surprised her. When had together become part of the equation? Donald's expression softened. You're either the bravest person I've ever met, or the most reckless. I slapped a mafia boss in a diner, Cora said. Pretty sure that ship sailed. Leo laughed. Victor almost smiled. Even Margaret's expression cracked slightly. All right, Donald said. We go all in. Margaret, I need fabricated evidence of a relationship dating back 8 months. Leo, security analysis, every angle Vincent might use to expose us. Victor, background sweep on everyone attending the gala. If there's anyone we can't account for, I want to know. Everyone nodded and dispersed, leaving Donald and Cora alone again. I'm sorry, he said quietly. This keeps getting more complicated. Welcome to my life. Cora tried to smile. Complications are kind of my specialty. Cora. Donald lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. If at any point you want out. I don't. You haven't even let me finish. Because I don't need to. Cora surprised herself with her certainty. 4 days ago I was watching my brother die slowly and couldn't do anything about it. Now he's getting treatment. Now I'm standing in a luxury apartment wearing a dress that costs more than my car, about to con a mafia organization. It's terrifying and insane and probably going to get me killed. That's not a great sales pitch for staying. But I feel alive. The words burst out. For the first time in years, I feel like I'm doing something that matters. Like I'm not just surviving, I'm fighting. Donald stared at her. Something shifted in his expression, something dangerous and tender and completely unguarded. You're going to ruin me, he whispered. What? By the time this is over, he cupped her face with both hands. I'm going to forget how to let you go. Cora's breath caught. They were too close. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Her hands had somehow ended up on his chest, feeling his heartbeat through his shirt. Donald. His phone shattered the moment. Buzzing. Insistent. He checked it. Went rigid. What? Cora asked. Vincent. Donald showed her the screen. A text message. A photo. It was them. In the apartment. Through the window. Taken from a building across the street. The apartment erupted into controlled chaos. Margaret swept the windows, closing motorized blinds that Cora hadn't known existed. Leo was on his phone, barking orders in rapid-fire Italian. Victor moved to Donald's side, already pulling up security footage on a tablet. How long has he known? Donald's voice was ice. Can't tell from the metadata, Victor said, fingers flying across the screen. Photo was taken today, but that doesn't mean it's the first. Cora's mind raced. He knows where we are. He's known for at least 6 hours, Margaret said grimly, studying her own device. I've got 3 suspicious vehicles logged in the area since noon. I flagged them but didn't think. She cursed in a language Cora didn't recognize. Donald's phone buzzed again. Vincent, or should I call her Cora Davis? Queens. Age 24. Waitress. Brother in St. Catherine's with cancer. You always did have a type, broken things you think you can fix. Cora felt sick. Vincent, meet me. Alone. Or I'll visit Liam myself. I hear he's starting new treatment Monday. Would be a shame if something happened to interrupt that. Donald's hand tightened around the phone so hard Cora heard the case crack. He's bluffing, Leo said, but his voice lacked conviction. Vincent doesn't bluff. Donald looked at Cora, and she saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen before, fear. Not for himself. For her. He'll do it. He'll go after Liam to prove a point. Then we move Liam, Margaret said. Get him somewhere Vincent can't touch. He just started treatment, Cora's voice shook. Dr. Patel said moving him could. The timing is critical. The timing won't matter if Vincent gets to him. Donald was already texting. Victor, I need a medical transport team. Discreet. Someone we trust. On it. Wait. Cora grabbed Donald's arm. What if that's what he wants? For you to scramble? To make mistakes? Everyone stopped. She's right, Leo said slowly. Vincent's playing chess. He wants Donald reactive, not strategic. He threatened her brother, Donald snapped. To get a response. Cora's mind was clicking into place, the same survival instinct that had gotten her through years of barely making rent, of fighting with insurance companies, of refusing to let the world break her. He wants you to meet him. Why? Donald stared at her. To kill me. To finish what he started. Then why not just do it? He knows where we are. He could have sent people instead of a text. Cora looked at the photo on Donald's phone. He's giving you a choice. That means he wants something. Silence. The insurance, Victor said quietly. The documents. He still doesn't know where they are. And he thinks I'll trade them for Cora's brother's safety. Donald's expression shifted. He's trying to force my hand. So we don't give it to him. Cora's heart was hammering, but her voice stayed steady. We call his bluff. That's insane, Margaret said. So is everything else about this situation. Cora turned to Donald. You said Vincent thinks you've gone soft. Thinks you're weak. What would the old you do? Donald's eyes locked with hers. The old me would use you as bait. Then do it. Absolutely not. Listen to me. Cora stepped closer, urgent. He expects you to protect me. To hide me. To do the noble thing. So we do the opposite. We use his expectations against him. You want to walk into a trap? Leo asked incredulously. I want to spring the trap before Vincent can set it. Cora looked at Donald. You respond to his text. Tell him you'll meet. But not alone, with me. Your wife. Because that's what a real couple would do, right? Face threats together. Donald stopped. His expression shifted from fear to something else. Something calculating. Actually brilliant. Also potentially suicidal, Margaret pointed out. Vincent won't kill me in front of witnesses, Donald said, his mind clearly racing now. Not if he thinks I might actually be married. The optics would be terrible, murdering his brother and sister-in-law? Even our world has limits. And if he doesn't care about optics? Victor asked. Then we make sure we're somewhere public enough that he has to. Donald was already texting back. Somewhere he can posture but not act. Donald, tomorrow. Noon. Gramercy Terrace. We'll both be there. The response came immediately. Vincent, brave. Or stupid. I'm looking forward to meeting your waitress. Donald, her name is Cora. And she's more than you'll ever deserve to meet. Cora's breath caught at the protective edge in those words. Vincent, we'll see. Come alone and she lives. Bring back up and I'll know. Donald, you'll know we're there together. Everything else is negotiable. No response this time. Gramercy Terrace, Margaret said. Upscale restaurant. Public. Smart. Also Vincent's territory, Leo added. He owns the building. Which is why he'll feel safe enough to talk instead of shoot. Donald finally looked up from his phone. We go in, we show we're united, we make him believe the marriage is real. Then we leave. No drama. And Liam? Cora asked quietly. Gets a security detail tonight. Discreet. People Vincent won't recognize. Donald's voice softened. I promise you, Cora. Your brother will be safe. She wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that a man she'd known for 4 days could actually protect the only family she had left. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Okay, we do this. Cora lifted her chin. But I need to see Liam first. Tonight. I need to tell him, she stopped. What could she tell him? Hey, I'm fake married to a mafia boss and we're meeting his murderous brother tomorrow? Tell him you fell in love, Donald said quietly. Everyone stared at him. That's our story, isn't it? Donald continued, his eyes never leaving Cora's. 8 months ago, a man walked into a diner. Met a waitress who saw through his defenses. Fell impossibly, irrationally in love. Married her in secret because his world was too dangerous to expose her to. But now circumstances have forced the truth into the light. That's. Cora searched for words. Actually believable. The best lies are built on truth. Donald moved closer. And the truth is, Cora Davis, you're the first person in a decade who's made me want to be someone other than what I am. The apartment went quiet. I'll coordinate the security detail for the hospital, Victor said, breaking the moment. Margaret, scope Gramercy Terrace. Leo, I need background on every staff member working tomorrow. They dispersed, leaving Donald and Cora alone again. You meant that, Cora said. Not a question. I meant that. Donald's hand found hers. Which is why this is so dangerous. Vincent will see it. He's always been able to read me. Then we use that too. Cora squeezed his fingers. We let him see that you care. That I'm not just a strategy, I'm real. You are real. Donald's other hand came up to cup her face. That's what terrifies me. They were close again. Too close. The same dangerous proximity from before Vincent's text had shattered the moment. Donald. I need you to understand something. His voice was rough. When this is over, when you walk away, I won't be able to follow. My world will destroy anything good I touch. It's already destroying you. I'm not destroyed. Not yet. His thumb traced her jawline. But you will be. Unless you run. Unless you take the money and disappear and forget you ever met me. Is that what you want? What I want, Donald said, and what's safe for you are two completely different things. Cora reached up, covered his hand with hers. What if I don't want safe? Then you're as reckless as I am. Good. She smiled, even though her heart was breaking. Reckless people make the best liars. Donald laughed, that genuine sound she was starting to crave. Then his expression shifted. Became serious. Cora. What I said in the text. I meant it. He swallowed hard. You're more than Vincent will ever deserve to meet. More than I deserve. But I'm selfish enough to keep you close anyway, even knowing it might destroy us both. Maybe we're already destroyed, Cora whispered. Maybe we were broken before we met. Maybe that's why this works. Two broken people pretending to be whole. Two broken people refusing to pretend anymore. The truth of it hung between them, raw and terrifying and real. Donald leaned in. Slowly. Giving her time to pull away. Cora didn't pull away. His lips touched hers, gentle, questioning, nothing like the cruel stranger from the diner. This was the man who read Mary Oliver. Who'd wanted to teach English. Who'd been forced into a world of violence and was trying desperately to remember what softness felt like. Cora kissed him back. Not because she was playing a role. Not because she was pretending to be his wife. Because for the first time in forever, she felt something other than exhaustion and fear. She felt alive. When they finally broke apart, Donald rested his forehead against hers. That was a terrible idea, he murmured. Probably. We're supposed to be fake. I know. This complicates everything. I know that too. Neither of them moved. Tomorrow, Donald said finally, when we meet Vincent. When he looks for cracks in our story. When he tries to prove we're lying. What about it? He's going to see the truth. Donald pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. That I'm in love with you. And I don't know if I can hide it anymore. Cora's world tilted. You don't, you can't, we barely know each other. I know you slapped me for being cruel. I know you work double shifts to save your brother. I know you face impossible situations with your chin up and your heart exposed. I know you're the bravest person I've ever met. His smile was sad and true. And I know that when this is over, losing you is going to break whatever's left of me. Tears burned Cora's eyes. Donald. You don't have to say anything. He kissed her forehead. Just promise me something. What? Promise me that when you walk away, when you take your brother and disappear into a safe, normal life, you'll remember that for 1 week, you made a monster feel human. Cora grabbed his shirt, pulled him back down. You're not a monster, she said fiercely. You're a man who's been through hell. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. She meant it. Monsters don't read poetry. Monsters don't pay for strangers' medical bills. Monsters don't fall in love with waitresses who slap them. Donald's expression cracked. The careful control he'd maintained for days shattered, and Cora saw the real him, scared, desperate, clinging to hope like a drowning man clinging to driftwood. What if Vincent's right? He whispered. What if I am too soft? Too weak? What if caring about you gets us both killed? Then we die knowing we felt something real. Cora surprised herself with the certainty in her voice. Better than being safe and empty. That's the most reckless thing you've said yet. Good thing I'm practicing to be a Mafia wife. He laughed through what might have been tears. They stood there, holding each other in an apartment 47 floors above a city that wanted them dead, and pretended tomorrow wasn't coming. But tomorrow always comes. And Vincent Martinez was waiting. Gramercy Terrace smelled like old money and older secrets. Cora's hand trembled as Donald helped her out of the car. She wore a dress Margaret had chosen, midnight blue, elegant, expensive enough to belong but not so flashy as to seem fake. Breathe, Donald murmured against her ear. You're my wife. You belong here. But the lie felt heavier now. After the kiss. After the confession. After everything had stopped being pretend. Vincent was waiting at a corner table, and Cora's first thought was how much he looked like Donald. Same height. Same build. Same gray eyes. But where Donald's eyes held oceans, Vincent's held ice. Brother. Vincent stood, smiling. You look good for a dead man. Vincent. Donald's hand tightened on Cora's waist. Meet Cora. My wife. Vincent's gaze slid to her. Assessed. Dismissed. The waitress. Not a question. How, quaint. How's Isabel? Cora asked, surprising herself. And the baby? Vincent's smile sharpened. Thriving. We're very happy. I'm sure you are. Donald pulled out Cora's chair. What do you want, Vincent? To talk. Family to family. Vincent Saturday. You've put me in an awkward position, Donnie. Everyone thinks you're dead. Having you show up at my gala with a mysterious wife raises questions. Then don't come to the gala. It's my event. It's grandmother's trust. I'm claiming it. Vincent laughed. With what proof? A marriage certificate you forged? A waitress you paid to play pretend? Cora's blood ran cold. She's not pretending, Donald said quietly. No. Vincent leaned forward. Then tell me, Cora, when did you meet my brother? What's his favorite food? Where did he propose? What side of the bed does he sleep on? The questions came like bullets. 8 months ago, Cora said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. At Rose's diner. He ordered coffee and read poetry while it rained. His favorite food is his grandmother's osso buco, but he hasn't had it since she died. He proposed at sunrise on the Brooklyn Bridge because he said I deserved something beautiful. And he doesn't sleep, he paces until exhaustion forces him down, usually around 4 a.m., on the left side because he likes watching the door. Silence. Vincent's expression flickered. Impressive coaching. It's not coaching. Donald's voice was steel. It's marriage. We'll see. Vincent pulled out his phone. Showed them a photo. Cora's stomach dropped. It was Liam. In his hospital bed. Sleeping. Taken an hour ago. Beautiful boy, Vincent said softly. Be a shame if his new treatment had complications. Donald moved so fast Cora barely saw it. 1 second he was seated. The next, Vincent was against the wall, Donald's forearm across his throat. Touch him, Donald growled, and I release every document I have. Every name. Every account. I'll burn our entire organization to the ground and take you with it. Vincent smiled. Blood on his teeth from where his lips split. There he is. The real Donald Martinez. He shoved his brother back. I was starting to think the waitress had neutered you. Vincent, please, Cora started. Stay out of this, sweetheart. You're just a prop in a game you don't understand. Vincent straightened his jacket. Here's what's going to happen. You'll withdraw your claim to the trust. You'll disappear again. And in exchange, I won't kill everyone you've ever cared about. No, Donald said. No. You want a war, Vincent? You'll get one. But Cora and her brother are off limits. Nothing is off limits. Vincent's voice dropped to something cold and final. You taught me that. Every weakness is a weapon. Every attachment is a liability. He looked at Cora. She's both. Donald stepped in front of her. Protective. Desperate. Name your price, he said quietly. The documents. The trust. Whatever you want. Just leave them alone. Donald, no, Cora grabbed his arm. But Vincent was already smiling. The documents. Tonight. Delivered to me personally. He straightened. Do that, and maybe, I'll let you both live long enough to regret this farce. He walked out, leaving Donald and Cora in the ruins of their plan. In the car, Donald wouldn't look at her. You can't give him the documents, Cora said. They're your only leverage. They're pieces of paper. Donald's voice was hollow. Your brother is a person. Who you've already saved. The treatment is working. Not if Vincent stops it. Donald finally met her eyes. Don't you understand? I can't, I won't, let him hurt Liam because of me. So you'll sacrifice everything? Roll over and let Vincent win. I'll keep you alive. The words exploded out of him. That's all that matters now. Cora stared at the man she'd kissed 12 hours ago. The man who'd confessed he loved her. When did you become a coward? She whispered. Donald flinched like she'd slapped him again. When I fell in love with you, he said quietly. When I realized there are things worse than dying. The car pulled up to the apartment. Donald got out without helping her. And Cora realized with crushing certainty that Vincent had already won. Not by threatening Liam. By making Donald too afraid to fight back. Cora didn't follow Donald inside. She stood on the sidewalk, 4 to 7 floors below the apartment, watching the city move around her like she was a ghost. Her phone buzzed. A text from St. Catherine's Hospital. Liam's responding well to treatment. Dr. Patel says it's remarkable. He's asking for you. Something crystallized in Cora's chest. Liam was fighting. Her 17-year-old brother with bird-bone fingers and battery acid taste in his mouth was fighting for his life. And she was about to let Donald surrender because of fear? No. Cora pulled out her phone and called the one person who might understand. Margaret, she said when the line connected. I need your help. 20 minutes later, Cora sat across from Margaret in a coffee shop 3 blocks away. He's going to give Vincent everything, Cora said. Because he's scared of losing me. Donald doesn't scare easily. Margaret stirred her espresso. You must be important. I'm a liability. Vincent was right about that. Vincent's right about a lot of things. Doesn't make him less of a bastard. Margaret studied her. What do you want to do? I want to fight back. Cora leaned forward. The documents, where are they really? Margaret's expression didn't change. Why would I know that? Because you've been with Donald for 8 years. Because you're not just security, you're family. Because if anyone knows where he'd hide the most important thing in his world, it's you. Silence. Then Margaret smiled. Actually smiled. You're smarter than you look, waitress. I'm smarter than everyone thinks. Cora didn't blink. So tell me, where are they? Margaret pulled out a key. Small. Brass. Worn. Safety deposit box. Manhattan Savings and Trust. Under a false name, Thomas Chen. Donald's driver. The man who died for him. Cora's breath caught. He named it after. After the only person who ever proved loyalty means more than blood. Margaret slid the key across the table. Box 347. You'll need his signature and a password. What's the password? Dante. Margaret's voice softened. His dog. The one that left the night before his first kill. Donald said Dante knew what he was becoming and couldn't watch. Cora closed her hand around the key. Why are you giving me this? She asked. Because Donald's forgotten how to fight for himself. He'll sacrifice everything to keep you safe. Margaret stood. But maybe if you fight for him first, he'll remember there's something worth saving. Vincent will kill us both if this goes wrong. Probably. Margaret dropped money on the table. But I've watched Donald die slowly for 6 months. Whatever happens tomorrow, at least he'll go down swinging. Cora found Donald on the apartment balcony, staring at the city. I'm not giving him the documents, she said. Donald didn't turn. It's not your choice. You're right. It's not. Cora moved beside him. It's yours. And you're making it out of fear instead of strategy. I'm making it to keep you alive. By becoming the thing Vincent already thinks you are, weak. Soft. Broken. Cora grabbed his arm, forced him to look at her. Is that what Thomas died for? So you could surrender the first time someone threatened someone you loved. Donald's face cracked. Don't. He threw himself in front of a bullet, Donald. He believed you were worth saving. Worth dying for. Cora's voice shook. Are you really going to prove him wrong? This isn't about Thomas. This is about all of it. The words exploded out of her. About your grandmother who built an empire. About the man who wanted to teach English. About every person who believed Donald Martinez was someone worth following. She stepped closer. About me. About whether you trust me enough to fight with you instead of just protecting me. Donald stared at her. You don't understand what Vincent will do. I understand perfectly. Cora pulled out the brass key. Which is why we're going to beat him. Together. Donald's eyes widened. How did you? Margaret gave it to me. Because she knows what I know, that you're not a coward. You're terrified. There's a difference. Cora pressed the key into his palm. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to the gala tomorrow. We're walking in as husband and wife. And we're going to show Vincent that you didn't go soft, you got smart. Smart how? By doing what he'd never expect. Cora smiled. By telling the truth. An hour later, the team assembled in the apartment. You want to what? Leo asked. Tell everyone at the gala that Vincent tried to kill Donald, Cora repeated. Expose him publicly. Make it impossible for him to retaliate without proving Donald's story. That's insane, Victor said. Vincent controls half the people in that room. Half. Not all. Donald's voice had changed, steadier now, focused. And the half he doesn't control? They're looking for any excuse to challenge his authority. He took over through my death. If I'm alive, his entire claim crumbles. He'll deny it, Margaret said. Say you're lying. Trying to reclaim power. Unless we have proof. Cora looked at Donald. The documents aren't just insurance against Vincent. They're proof of everything, right? Including the assassination attempt. Donald nodded slowly. Financial records. Communication logs. Witness testimonies I collected before I disappeared. Then we don't give them to Vincent. Cora's heart was racing. We give them to everyone. All at once. Undeniable. Public. A scorched earth strategy, Leo said. Burn down the entire organization to expose Vincent. Not the entire organization. Donald was pacing now, his mind clearly racing. Just the rot. The people who sided with Vincent knowing what he did. The ones who profited from my death. And the ones who stayed loyal. Margaret asked. They get vindication. Donald stopped pacing. Looked at Cora. And protection. We rebuild. Smaller. Cleaner. Legitimate. You'd walk away from the Mafia. Victor sounded shocked. I'd walk toward something better. Donald's hand found Cora's. If she'll walk with me. Cora squeezed his fingers. Try stopping me. For the first time since Gramercy Terrace, Donald smiled. Really smiled. All right. He turned to the team. Here's the play. Tomorrow at the gala, Vincent expects me to either surrender or make a scene. We do neither. We play the perfect couple. Gracious. United. Unshakable. And then? Leo asked. And then, during Vincent's speech, when he announces Isabel's pregnancy, when he celebrates his empire, we release the documents. Every news outlet. Every law enforcement agency. Every rival organization. Donald's voice turned to steel. We don't just expose Vincent. We give the world a choice, stand with a murderer, or stand with the truth. He'll retaliate, Margaret warned. Let him try. Donald looked at each of them. But he'll be doing it in front of cameras. Witnesses. The entire criminal underworld watching to see if he's strong enough to survive exposure. And if he is? Victor asked quietly. Then at least we fought back. Donald's hand tightened on Cora's. At least we didn't surrender. Cora felt tears burning her eyes. This was the man she'd seen beneath the cruelty in the diner. The fighter, the survivor, the person who'd forgotten what hope looked like. So we go to war, she said softly. We go to war. Donald pulled her close. Together. Together, she echoed. And for the first time since Vincent's threat, Cora believed they might actually survive. That night, Donald found Cora on the balcony. Can't sleep, he asked. Too wired. She smiled. Tomorrow we either win everything or lose it all. Quite a change from serving coffee. Quite a change from wanting to die. The words slipped out before Cora could stop them. Donald went still. What? 6 months ago, before Liam got sick, I thought about it. Cora stared at the city. Thought about how easy it would be to just stop. Stop fighting. Stop surviving. Just stop. Cora. But then Liam needed me. And I realized stopping wasn't an option anymore. She turned to him. You saved his life. You know that, right? The treatment, the money, all of it, you gave me a reason to keep fighting. You gave yourself that reason. Donald moved closer. I just provided the tools. You provided hope. Cora touched his face. Same thing you forgot you deserved. Donald caught her hand. Kissed her palm. When this is over, he said quietly, When Vincent's exposed and the dust settles and you can walk away clean. I'm not walking away. Cora. I'm not. She said it firmly. I know what we said. I know the deal. But that was before. Before what? Before I fell in love with you too. Donald's breath caught. You don't have to say it back, Cora continued quickly. I know it's complicated. I know your world is dangerous. I know. He kissed her. Deep. Desperate. Real. When they broke apart, Donald rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he whispered. God help me, I love you. And if we survive tomorrow, I'm never letting you go. Promise. Promise. They stood on that balcony, 4 to 7 floors above a city that wanted them dead, and chose each other. Tomorrow, they'd face Vincent. Tonight, they had hope. The gala was everything Cora had imagined and nothing she was prepared for. Crystal chandeliers dripped light across a ballroom that could hold 3 of her apartments. Women in dresses worth more than cars. Men in custom suits discussing mergers and murders with the same casual tone. And at the center of it all, Vincent Martinez, holding court like a king. Isabel stood beside him, her hand on her barely visible baby bump, smiling like she hadn't mourned Donald 6 months ago. Ready? Donald whispered against Cora's ear. She wore emerald green tonight, Margaret's choice. To make your eyes impossible to ignore, she'd said. Cora's hair was swept up, diamonds at her throat, borrowed, but Vincent wouldn't know that. She looked like she belonged. She felt like she was about to throw up. Ready, she lied. They descended the stairs together. The room noticed immediately. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Glasses paused halfway to lips. Someone dropped a champagne flute. The crystal shattering echoed like a gunshot. Vincent's head snapped toward them. For 3 seconds, the entire ballroom held its breath. Then Vincent smiled. Raised his glass. Ladies and gentlemen, his voice carried across the stunned silence. It appears my brother has returned from the dead. How? Theatrical. Polite laughter. Nervous. Uncertain. Donald's hand rested on Cora's lower back, steady, protective, as they walked through the parting crowd. Vincent. Donald's voice was cordial. Public. Isabel. Congratulations on the baby. Isabel's face had gone white. Donald, It's fine. Donald's smile was genuine. Truly. I'm happy you've moved on. The crowd murmured. This wasn't the confrontation they'd expected. And who is this? Vincent's eyes raked over Cora. Your date. My wife. Donald pulled Cora closer. Cora Martinez. We married 8 months ago. Quietly. Given the circumstances. Circumstances, Vincent repeated. You mean your death? My survival. Donald's voice hardened slightly. Despite best efforts. The murmuring grew louder. Careful, brother. Vincent's smile sharpened. Accusations like that require proof. I agree completely. Donald pulled out his phone. Which is why I brought some. He nodded to Leo, stationed by the DJ booth. The music cut off. The screens throughout the ballroom, meant for displaying photos of Vincent's accomplishments, flickered to life. Bank statements appeared. Wire transfers. Emails. What is this? Vincent's voice cracked like a whip. Documentation, Donald said calmly, of the 3 men you hired to kill me. Carlos Reeves. Michael Tang. Jonathan Pace. Each paid $50,000. Transferred from an account you thought was untraceable. The screens shifted. Photos now. Vincent meeting with the 3 men. Timestamps and locations. The crowd pressed closer, reading, understanding. This is fabricated, Vincent started. Audio recording. March 15th. Your office. Leo's voice came through the speakers. Then Vincent's voice, tinny but clear. I want him dead. No body. No evidence. Make it clean. Another voice, and if he survives. He won't. But if he does, finish the job. The ballroom erupted. Vincent lunged toward the screens, but Margaret appeared from nowhere, blocking him. I wouldn't, she said quietly. You're all dead, Vincent snarled. Every single one of you. Is that a threat, Mr. Martinez? A new voice cut through the chaos. Federal agents poured into the ballroom. FBI. Secret Service. NYPD. Leading them was a woman in her 50s, badge displayed, Special Agent Patricia Morrison. Vincent Martinez, she said, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, and about 40 other charges we'll discuss downtown. Vincent's face twisted. You can't, I have immunity. Had immunity. Agent Morrison smiled. Turns out when you try to murder your brother and steal his organization, prior agreements become null and void. Two agents moved to cuff Vincent. He fought. Screamed. This is a setup. Donald planned this. He's the criminal. Actually, Agent Morrison said, pulling out documents, Donald Martinez has been working with us for 18 months. Providing evidence. Building a case. The assassination attempt just accelerated our timeline. Cora's head snapped toward Donald. He wouldn't meet her eyes. Wait, she whispered. You've been working with the FBI? Not here, Donald murmured. But Cora's mind was racing. 18 months. That meant. Before you died, she said slowly. You were already planning to bring Vincent down. I was planning to save what I could of our family. Donald finally looked at her. By destroying the parts too corrupt to salvage. The documents weren't just insurance, Cora realized. They were evidence. For a deal. Agent Morrison approached them. Donald provides everything, names, accounts, operations. In exchange, immunity for himself and anyone who wasn't directly involved in violent crime. And me? Cora asked. You were never in danger legally, Mrs. Martinez. Or should I say, Ms. Davis? Morrison's smile was knowing. The marriage is fake, yes. Cora's stomach dropped. Actually, Donald said quietly, it's not. Everyone stared at him. What? Cora, Morrison, and Vincent said simultaneously. Donald pulled out a marriage certificate. Official. Stamped. Dated 3 days ago. We filed it Tuesday, he said, looking only at Cora. After Vincent threatened Liam. After I realized that pretending wasn't enough, I needed legal protection for you. Spousal privilege. Assets. Rights. His voice softened. A real marriage, if you wanted it. With the option to annul the moment this was over. Cora couldn't breathe. You married me, she whispered. For real. I married you because I love you. Donald's hand found hers. The legal protection was just the excuse I used to convince myself it was strategy instead of desperation. If you're feeling this moment, drop a comment. Because this story just became real. Vincent's laughter cut through the moment, sharp and broken. You sacrificed everything, he said, being dragged toward the exit. Our family. Our empire. Our legacy. For her. No, Donald said clearly. I sacrificed a criminal organization built on violence and fear. For a chance at something real. There's a difference. Vincent spat at his feet. You're weak. Father would be ashamed. Father, Donald said quietly, was murdered because of the world he built. I'm ending that cycle. That's not weakness, Vincent. That's evolution. The agents hauled Vincent away, his screams echoing through the ballroom. Isabel stood frozen, her hand still on her stomach. I'm sorry, she whispered. Donald, I'm so sorry. He said you were dead, and I were pregnant before I died. Donald's voice wasn't cruel. Just tired. I know, Isabel. I knew for months. Her face crumbled. The baby's mine, she admitted. Not Vincent's. I was going to tell you, but then I disappeared. And Vincent offered you protection. Donald nodded. It's okay. I understand. I don't deserve. None of us deserve anything. We just make choices. Donald looked at Cora. And I choose to stop punishing people for surviving. Agent Morrison cleared her throat. Mr. Martinez, we still need your full testimony. Depositions start Monday. I'll be there. Donald turned to face the stunned crowd. For anyone wondering, Martinez Holdings is being dissolved. Assets will be liquidated, debts paid, And what remains will go to legitimate charities. The Martinez family's involvement in organized crime ends tonight. Silence. Then someone started clapping. One person. Then another. Then a dozen. Not everyone. Some faces were furious, some calculating how this affected their own operations. But enough people clapped that Cora realized Donald had just done the impossible. He'd walked away from power with his life intact. "We should go," Margaret said quietly, appearing at Donald's elbow. "Before the media circus arrives." They moved through the ballroom in a bubble of shocked whispers. Cora felt Donald trembling, adrenaline, fear, relief, all of it crashing through him at once. Outside, the night air felt like absolution. "You really filed a marriage certificate," Cora said. "I really did." Donald helped her into the waiting car. "I meant what I said. If you want an annulment." Cora kissed him. Hard. Public. Real. When she pulled back, Donald looked dazed. "No annulment," she said firmly. "You want to be married to a waitress from Queens? Fine. But I have conditions." "Name them." 1. You get therapy. Real therapy. For the trauma, the violence, all of it. Done. 2. We visit Liam every week. He's part of this now. Already planned on it. 3. Cora took his face in both hands. "You let me love you. Actually love you. Not as strategy or protection or anything except what it is. Two broken people choosing to be less broken together." Donald's eyes glistened. "That's all I've wanted," he whispered, "since the moment you slapped me." They kissed again, softer this time, while Margaret drove them away from the gala and toward whatever came next. Behind them, Vincent Martinez's empire crumbled. Ahead of them, the future waited, uncertain, terrifying, and full of possibility. In the car, Donald's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "The king is dead. Long live the king." Then another. "Some of us remember loyalty. Call when you're ready to rebuild. Victor." Donald showed it to Cora. "You could, she said softly. "Rebuild. Do it right this time. Legitimate. Is that what you want? I want you to stop pretending you don't miss having purpose." Cora squeezed his hand. "You were good at protecting people, Donald. You just protected the wrong ones for too long. Maybe it's time to protect the right ones." Donald stared at the message. Then at Cora. Then he smiled, real and full of something that looked like hope. "Okay," he said. "Let's build something worth believing in." And Cora realized that somewhere between a slap in a diner and a kiss in a ballroom, she'd stopped surviving and started living. 3 months later, Cora stood in the doorway of Liam's hospital room, watching her brother argue with Dr. Patel about discharge dates. 2 more weeks of observation, Dr. Patel said firmly. "I've been here for 6 months, Liam protested. "The cancer's in remission. I feel fine." "You feel fine because of the treatment. Which requires monitoring." Dr. Patel's expression softened. 2 weeks, Liam. Then you can go home. Home. The word still felt strange. Not Cora's cramped apartment with the leaking ceiling. Not the diner where she'd worked herself to exhaustion. Home was a brownstone in Brooklyn, modest by Martinez standards, enormous by hers. 3 bedrooms, a backyard, and a kitchen Donald was slowly learning to cook in. Badly. But learning. "Hey, sis." Liam spotted her. His hair was growing back, soft and fuzzy, making him look younger than 17. "Tell the doc I'm fine." "Tell the doc you'll behave for 2 more weeks, Cora countered, moving to hug him. He felt solid. Real. Alive. "You're ganging up on me," Liam grumbled, but he was smiling. Dr. Patel left them alone, and Liam studied his sister. "You look different," he said. "Different how?" "Happy. Like actually happy, not just pretending for my sake happy." He grinned. "Marriage looks good on you." Cora felt her cheeks heat. "It's complicated." "Love usually is." Liam's expression turned serious. "His good to you, Donald?" "His." Cora searched for words. "His trying. We both are. Trying is good." Liam squeezed her hand. "Trying means you care enough to work at it." Cora's throat tightened. When had her baby brother become so wise? He wants to meet you properly, she said. Not just quick visits. Really meet you. The infamous Mafia boss turned reformed businessman. Liam's eyes sparkled with mischief. I've been Googling. He's all over the news. He was. Donald's testimony had made headlines for weeks, exposing corruption that reached into politics, law enforcement, business. Vincent was facing 17 federal charges. Others in the organization had flipped, seeking deals. And Donald had walked away clean. Immunity in exchange for everything he knew. He's nervous, Cora admitted. About meeting you. Why? Because you're the most important person in my life. Your opinion matters. Liam considered this. Then tell him to bring pizza. Good pizza, not hospital cafeteria garbage. And we'll call it even. Cora laughed, the sound bubbling up freely, no longer weighed down by fear and exhaustion. Deal, she said. That evening, Cora found Donald in his office, technically a study, but old habits died hard. He was on the phone, speaking rapid Italian. When he saw her, his entire expression transformed. Devo andar, he said into the phone. Ciao. He hung up and crossed to her in 3 strides, pulling her into his arms like he'd been starving for contact. How's Liam? He asked against her hair. Good. Arguing with doctors. Being a typical teenager. She pulled back to look at him. 2 more weeks and he comes home. Home, Donald repeated, testing the word. I like the sound of that. Me too. Cora touched his face. You okay? You look tired. Long day. Victor's team found another holding company Vincent created. We're working to liquidate it, return the stolen assets. This was Donald's new purpose, dismantling what Vincent had corrupted, making restitution where possible, and building something legitimate from the ashes. Martinez Security Solutions. Private protection for people who couldn't afford it otherwise. Domestic violence victims. Witnesses in danger. Kids fleeing gang violence. Using the skills Donald had learned in darkness to create light. You're doing good work, Cora said. I'm trying to balance the scales. Donald's smile was tired. Not sure it's possible, but... It's possible. She kissed him softly. I see it every day. In the people you help. In the way you're changing. Donald rested his forehead against hers. I have therapy tomorrow. Dr. Chen wants to discuss my childhood. How do you feel about that? Terrified. But less terrified than I was last week. He managed a smile. Progress, right? Progress, Cora confirmed. They stood in comfortable silence, something that had taken weeks to achieve. Learning to be together without pretense or performance. Just 2 people, broken in complementary ways, figuring out how to heal. Liam wants to meet you properly, Cora said. Pizza required. Donald laughed. I can do pizza. What else? Just be yourself. The real you, not the mafia boss or the reformed criminal or any of it. Just Donald. I'm still figuring out who that is. Then we'll figure it out together. Saturday morning, Cora woke to sunlight streaming through windows that didn't have bars on them. Donald was already up. She could hear him in the kitchen, probably burning toast again. The smell of coffee drifted upstairs. She pulled on one of his shirts and padded downstairs barefoot. He stood at the stove, concentrating fiercely on scrambled eggs. His hair was messy. He wore sweatpants and a faded t-shirt from a college he'd never attended. He looked nothing like the cruel stranger from the diner. Everything like home. Morning, Cora said. He turned, and his smile was the sunrise. Morning, wife. The word still sent butterflies through her stomach. How are the eggs? Edible. Maybe. He plated them. I'm getting better. You are. She accepted the plate, kissed his cheek. At everything. They ate at the kitchen table, discussing nothing important. Liam's discharge, a documentary Donald wanted to watch, whether they should adopt a dog. Normal. Beautifully, impossibly normal. I have something for you, Donald said suddenly. He pulled out an envelope. Inside, a deed. To Rose's diner. Cora's breath caught. You bought the diner. The owner was retiring. Selling to a developer who wanted to tear it down, build condos. Donald's voice was soft. I thought maybe you'd want to save it. Run it differently. Pay fair wages. Give people second chances. Tears blurred Cora's vision. Donald. Or we sell it. Or leave it alone. Whatever you want. He took her hand. I just thought, that's where this started. Where you saw me. Maybe we could make it into something good. Cora looked at the deed. At the man who'd gone from trying to disappear to trying to matter. A diner, she said slowly, that hires people rebuilding their lives. Offers real wages. Maybe job training. Exactly what I was thinking. And serves decent coffee. Donald laughed. That goes without saying. Cora kissed him, deep and grateful and full of love she was still learning to express. Yes, she said. Let's do it. Let's build something beautiful. 2 weeks later, Liam came home. He stood in the brownstone's doorway, taking it all in, the space, the light, the life. This is insane, he breathed. This is home, Cora corrected. Donald appeared from the kitchen, carrying pizza. Liam. It's good to finally meet you. Properly. Liam studied the man his sister had married, the reformed Mafia boss, the trauma survivor, the person trying desperately to be better. Then he smiled. You brought pizza. As requested. Donald set down the boxes. Mushroom and pepperoni. Cora said those were your favorites. They are. Liam moved further inside. So. You're the guy who saved my life. Your sister saved mine first, Donald said quietly. I'm just evening the scales. Liam looked between them, at the way Donald's hand found Cora's automatically, at the way she leaned into him without thinking. You love her, Liam said. Not a question. More than I knew was possible, Donald admitted. And you? Liam turned to Cora. You love him? With everything I have, Cora said. Liam nodded slowly. Then I guess we're family now. Donald's expression cracked. I'd like that. If you'll have me. On one condition. Liam's grin turned mischievous. You teach me Italian. And maybe some of that self-defense stuff Margaret's always doing. Donald laughed. Genuine, joyful, free. Deal, he said. They ate pizza in the living room, Liam asking questions about everything, Donald answering with surprising patience. Cora watched her two favorite people in the world figure out how to be family. Later, after Liam had gone to bed in his new room, Donald found Cora on the back porch. Thank you, he said quietly. For what? For slapping me. For seeing me. For refusing to let me disappear. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. For giving me a reason to become someone worth saving. Cora turned in his embrace. You were always worth saving, Donald. You just needed someone to prove it. And you needed someone to fight for you. We saved each other, Cora said simply. That's how this works. They stood under the stars, two people who'd started as strangers in a diner and become something neither had expected. Not perfect. Not without scars. But healing. Growing. Learning what it meant to be loved without conditions. What happens now? Donald asked. Cora smiled. Now we live. Really live. Not just survive. Together. Together, she confirmed. For as long as you'll have me. Forever, then. Donald kissed her softly. Forever sounds about right. We have come to the end of the story. Thank you for watching to the end. Share your opinion about this story in the comments below. I like getting feedback from my audience. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of our heartwarming stories.